The Corki's really good into Lissandra as well, but Corki AD carry has been played in the LPL, and it was an old deft favorite. I loved watching EDG in 2015 spring, and they loved to play that pick. They play with our hearts twice. Very interesting to see them go for Victor here. It's away from what we expected. We talked about how Ashe could be the choice to up the tempo.
Yeah.
They could be invited to play Kog'Maw, to play Jinx. Instead, they say to Griffin, we're not scaling with you, we're fighting you early.
It definitely goes against what Kingzone have been kind of relying on with the hyper carries and with Def doing his thing, but
yeah.
A lot of pick ban mind games,
yeah.
I'd say, really going back and forth as Kingzone essentially throwing another rock at Griffin after Griffin say, okay, we see what you're doing. We're going to pick Vayne and Karma against you.
We'll talk a lot more about the mind games of the draft because I think it was an evolving question. The Kog'Maw was kind of gift-wrapped, right? He just smashed a Vayne as Kog'Maw, but they go for the Victor bot lane instead, and that tells an interesting story. We also see the recently buffed Ornn on patch 9.6. Jace and friends are going to be quivering their boots if it gets to a teamfight phase because you can start trying to get away from the Ornn horn, but best of luck fully disengaging.
Well, this should be a fun one. Not exactly what we were expecting, but lights are up here for game number 1. Let's get into it. Griffin versus Kingzone.
It's there! I'm so happy. Look at him. He's so cute.
Oh.
Aww. Aww.
How you throw the bone up and he does a backflip.
He can shake his little rump as well,
Yeah.
corgi style. He's so adorable. I've actually never seen it in game. It's so cute.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Who you laughing at, Chovy? Better not be the corgi.
We don't need the Korean version of Lissandra to come in and laugh and ruin the mood here. As, well, they were watching the first series we had.
I'm not much for sellouts. Remember, we are not Riot employees, but come on. We need more corgis getting sold. So get in there. Again, at the mentioning series number 1, in Korea it's called a Welsh Corgi, which is a way better name than Corgi Corgi. Very disappointed that's not the name around. I didn't think it was available given that it was toggled latest. We got secondary runes! This is the new technology!
What is this?
Let's zoom in there. This is actually a lot of info to put out there. Notice Minion Dematerializer taking on both mid laners here. We're not going to be able to watch enough of the mid lane to know if they're used on the casters, melee minions, and ranged minions, and also the cannon minions or not. We've got all the information here. We're giving you the big guns. Speaking of big guns, Tarzan's here.
He's got red buff too, as actually a really nice flash there from Rascal. I feel like maybe Tarzan could have waited and tried to bait the flash out first, but still gonna get that flash. Nicely done.
I'm so distracted by that corky rump. I'm sorry. It's cute! But let's talk about what Kingzone did, because they actually made a really big kind of adjustment in their draft that I wouldn't have seen coming. We talked about how the draft was begging for a hyper carry with the Ornn, and then Griffin anticipated that and go for Vayne Karma, which is denying away a Vayne that would have fit the comp very well. They have a lot of zone control, and then Vayne tumbling around. And Karma just for a very strong 2v2 laning support against the Tahm Kench. And Kingzone actually look down the enemy comp and say, if we go hyper carry here, there's a chance Jace takes over lane, as Jace wants to do. Tarzan gets the jungling on. There's a lot of power in the top side of the map for Griffin and a pushing support. You might actually just get blown open as a Kog'Maw comp, never hit your items, and just lose to a team that is going to already be guaranteed to go into the grand final. And they make the adjustment of saying, okay, Corki can still have a front line and do unbelievable damage. Let's try and fight you in the early mid game and not try to scale alongside you and maybe do it worse.
Tarzan, not afraid of a fight on this Elise, comes up, is going to scan out the Jarvan, do a nice amount of poke damage as well. He's really just sticking around. He's not backing off of this one. Again, another cocoon lands. And Rascal low himself from the Jace, and can Cuz even get away here? He's going to flash in and just kill him. Cuz decides, I'm not going to flash. You can take my life. There you go.
That was kind of a attempted next level that just led to a very current level, which is death. Very easily put down on Kuz. I think he was trying to do too many things and wasn't able to do any of them. Just goes straight up down to Tarzan. They're losing a lot here. Valdez. Teleport already used back to lane. No unsealed spellbook summoners available for another couple of minutes. That's just a freebie to Griffin in the early game, and suddenly the Victor's looking even better because that's the last thing you could have afforded if it was a hyper carry or a scaling carry in the bot lane. You watch how this started. Kaz had already used his Q to just poke at Tarzan before. He puts down his E and then doesn't flash away. So takes free damage to begin with. The flag is there, so there's no flag and drags, and the flag cooldown is forever in the early games, just dies. It was easy.
Thinks he can wait for it.
This is far too many reactions for what is a very simple play. What is going on in that?
That looks like Vlad.
I know.
Next to what said Lol Park. Didn't see anything else on that one, but kind of a straightforward play, as you said. I mean, the Jarvan has to flash there, but thought he could wait, be greedy, get his flag back up, but that was not the case. So already good start here for the early game of Jace and the Elise in the top side.
Tarzan's around. Remember, Tarzan level 2 ganked mid lane and then got a successful gank off top side as well. So he's been way more active on this Elise than he has been in some other games. Here we go. Cleanse out of Tucson. Remember that there was a time when Ornn was the go-to against something like Jace because you could just survive with trades. Yes, there was a further buff to Ornn's Bellows Breath, the W, on patch 9.6, but it's still a swap of the shield for the unstoppable. You want the shield against the Jace to find anything approaching trades in the laning phase. Ornn still takes a long time to get going, cannot shrug off Jace damage. Jace's damage wasn't nerfed, it was his base stats on this patch. So it's going to be about ganks onto Jace to kill him with the Ornn CC, not about lane trades. They're still going to be pretty woeful in the 1v1.
Definitely will be. Speaking of 1v1 trades, Pawn not scared to go ahead and trade with the Lissandra, as he does quite well. No flash. This was actually going to be good timing, but decides against it, as Rascal's flash is about 30, 40 seconds away here.
Grinning and bearing it, our Kingzone DragonX. They know that from level 14 onwards, people are going to be getting 1,000 gold donations from good old Ornn. Still trying to find pressure where they can. Griffin looking for their big wins now. They have a lot of power on this draft, especially topside the map. We've said a couple of times. Still, remember you can buffer CC with the Searing Charge. They're probably not 100% guaranteed on the flash time, which we know is a couple of seconds away from Rascal, so still a pressure move from Griffin, but no gank attempt.
Tarzan really hanging around here for quite a while. He's canceled his back twice, sent in Sword to check the brush and see if there was a control ward, but eventually he will back away, and no gank, as you did mention, is going to come in here.
Should mention that the first item choice here from Deft was to move towards Frostmancy. There is going to be Frostmancy going on in the bot lane. Something that's been going on for a while now, but basically something that we've overlooked in paying attention to other lanes that Tom Kent has been picking up of the farm. It's not just going to be relic stacks here. He's going to be, at this point, focusing on some farming. There's a lot more Frostmancy going on. The Sona Taric was what a lot of people heard about in the TSM Academy versus Echo Fox Academy game. Over in Challengers, BBQ Olivers with trusty LS as head coach have been playing the Avengers comp, that in the bot lane is the Talia and Pantheon with Globals and also Frostmancy going on there. So we saw Victor bot. We didn't put much thought into that because that was a pretty staple meta thing. The Frostmancy is happening around it, which means Tucson getting well fed.
So Tarzan is going to find Kuz again. Kuz still has his flash available, but Lahen's going to make his way over here. They're looking to turn it around, though. Flash away from Lahen's. Now Pawn trying to keep them interested, but another Cocoon goes the way of Kuz, who's getting beat on by the Ocean Drake in the backside, but nobody will go down in the trade, and looks like Kingzone actually going to take a win as they do get that Scuttle Crown.
Nice fight back there. It's because Viper wasn't able to get any relevant threat onto members. He was kind of the last person to rotate, and Kingzone went first and went strongest, and that means that Jarvan doesn't have to deal with the Elise too much. These also couldn't aggro the Drake onto the Jarvan as the play started and took the aggro at the end. Top side, that was the Ornhorn.
Horn and Flash at a Jace here out of Sword, so Rascal actually gets the win in terms of trading his ult for a Flash Summoner, which is generally a good trade.
And definitely Ornn with Ignite, which you can go obviously very flexibly with Unsealed Spellbook, would always get those cheeky kills in past metas where you would actually burst Jace for 500, 600 damage if you hit everything. So, respect being shown by Sword. Griffin have a lot of good bridging in their comps. One item, Lissandra and Jace, going to be very powerful. Elise also with just a jungle item can burst you from most of your health bar, and Jace and Lissandra pretty good at helping out with that. And then while Vayne is thought of as a hyper carry, 2 items is usually where she spikes hardest. Karma kind of guarantees those items are going to come at a good timing. Very hard to find equivalents given that we've got the whole Frostmancy thing going on in terms of the CS numbers bot lane, but Griffin are going to do a lot of damage. Their issue is, as the game goes on, Ornn will draw multiple flashes if it's on point.
It's very true. More trading here in the mid side, but
10 minutes already, by the way, for the Frostmancy to be evolved, so Def can go back to CSing.
Looks like he already put down that ward, so because once again, hanging around this Ocean Drake and really attempting to make it happen with the help of Pawn, but Griffin really taking this seriously. The teleport comes in from Viper and a ward as well, so no Ocean Drake take just yet.
And if you looked at those numbers, Deft and Tucson have been sharing farm. Deft still has more gold than Viper, and Tom Kent, understandably, is going to be way ahead of the Karma. So this is just a straight-up gold win, and it's why I was surprised that after Frostmancy was direct nerfed, i.e. you had to have both people in the lane at the same time, we saw none of it. This cleanse going to be used.
That's a really nice max range one, but they're going to continue it. No more cleanse here for Pawn, as he is going to go down. Cuz trying to trade one back, but he gets himself into a bad situation, nearly takes out Toby, but the ticking, corrupting Pawn is going to keep him alive. Knocked out of the air here is Rascal, who's going to desperately ult, but that horn is going nowhere, but a double kill for the Elise.
And there's the monster dunk onto Kingzone. It comes early, just like it did the time these teams faced in the first week of the season. They just get completely owned on the top side, and it's because Griffin was so decisive around their decisions. Viper will receive the Victor ultimate. Left and Tucson already thinking about raid boss territory being required on the bot side, but this is very much open top side for Griffin.
Yes, it is, and it all came off the back of a max range cocoon from Tarzan, who catches Pawn once again, who thought he was safe with the cleanse and the flash, but it's obviously not the case, as they were able to chase on in the 2v2 and eventually even get a bonus 3rd kill. Kingzone going to pick up an Ocean Drake, but it's a very small consolation prize at this point.
Let's talk through this play and why this is impressive. Cocoon hits, and Cocoon's hit sometimes. Pawn believes he can get away. Notice Toby sees Cuz and doesn't care about him. He's about to flash in an Aftershock, and remember, it is a Cinderhulk Jarvan, and they're aware of that. So Jarvan comes in. We've already seen Cinderhulk Jarvan try to kill people at 200 health. It takes you a long time if you don't hit your Q. So because of that, they turn onto him. Sword has always been very impressive on Jace. It's the only carry who you can say he's been able to play and understand. His Fiora, not impressive. His Rise, super unimpressive. But his Jace on point in the Kesper Cup, and when he's got it the few times in LCK, he knocks him out of the air. No escape path for Rascal. 4 kills to Griffin.
I think Jason just told us that he was saying that he was going to flash, but as we do see up in the top side, he did not use his flash. Rascal never really got a chance to. Thought he was going to be safe with the blasting plans, but that is not the case, as he did go down.
You can definitely see the huge item lead that Tucson has over Lehends. He has Mercs and full gold item already done compared to working on the first item here, the Athenes for Lehends. This is one of those games where, unfortunately, bot lane, I think, has gone to plan. I've liked the strategy they've taken, and actually, in hindsight, the idea of maybe we shouldn't scale against Griffin's top side is very relevant, because if it was a Cogmore slowly building 2 items, the game is going to be over before those 2 items are done, because your top side is already so far behind.
Look at the timing here. 1347 gets all the plates right before So the timing to be up in the top side and look for a pick, to roll that into Rift Herald and then get the plates just on time.
It's even more dirty.
It's all calculated.
It's even more dirty because they're just about taking down the third plate as the charge comes in.
Yeah.
That means you don't have to worry about things like the armor and MR stacking that you get for being in threat range of those turrets. They just get the charge, true damage takes it down. That means Jace is even stronger. Rascal, you know, he tried to weather the storm on the Orin. It's not working, and now he's going to be dead again, you think?
Yeah, this guy is so dead. There's no way for him to get anywhere to safety. Toby, hilariously enough, nearly does go down, but that's another kill and another turret in the top side.
And this is what the glass half empty was for Kingzone DragonX preseason was. How hard can Defton Tucson carry with the names they have on the top side? The answer was that they actually had their top side perform oh so well recently, but now they're reaching the next level of opposition teams they weren't beating in that win streak, and unfortunately, it feels like the nameplates are on.
The only other real big top, playoff contender that Kingzone has defeated was Sandbox, but that was when Sandbox were going through their own little stretch. They were having some trouble. Look at this rotation. They get everybody going into the mid lane. It looked like a flank, but it was more of a take the turret with the chase. Everything is going to go wide here as Viper going to go invisible. Doesn't have his flash. Does have a stopwatch, but 4 people down here. Is he? I'm not so sure. Okay, well, Deft is going to shut down the hopes of the Griffin fans. Everybody in the crowd is going nuts as, okay, having another turret in the mid lane.
Now, he was always going to die there because all their summoners are up, but understandably they didn't want to use any. And yes, around the map, they think another turret. There's nothing in the top or mid lane. This is like the ultimate nightmare of what this matchup could be.
Yeah.
And if you remember, I was talking about how one-sided this was in the first round. A lot's happened since then, and Kingzone have come on much stronger and have seemed to have evolved as a team. But Kingzone in their first series against Griffin got 10 kills. Right now they have 1. More importantly though, 0 turrets and 2 Drakes in 2 games. They got 0 turrets. They got their first turret against Griffin in their 3rd game against the team this season. It took a lot of packing up and joining. First turret for Kingzone against Griffin was here, but they take down Viper, and yet it felt like it was a really hard takedown.
You made it just about as difficult as it possibly could be with all the stealth built in with the ultimate. Was able to make things a little bit tricky, but we're able to predict and eventually kill her. But again, you lose 2 mid turrets for killing Vayne and getting your own bottom tier 1. That's not the greatest trade and definitely not worth it for Kingzone, who do have that 1 Ocean Drake, are looking for another, really setting up for that mountain.
This is the scariest game we've seen from Tarzan in a long while. He has just won this game himself. That's not that his allies have played poorly. He's been so far ahead of first Cuz, who admittedly made a huge blunder on screen, but then just the whole game. He has 100% kill participation, 5 kill involvements at 17 minutes. They were all in the first 15 minutes. He has a 600 gold bounty, the only person with a bounty. This is just the ultimate Tarzan game where you watch it and say, just how do you beat this guy? He definitely has some games where he seems a little bit more reserved and sometimes he farms it out, but when he picks the AP junglers and gets going, it's just beautiful to watch. It's been a jungling masterclass by Tarzan.
Really has been, and for all you Griffin fans out there, that's a great sign going into playoffs. You want Tarzan to be on his game.
He knows the flag is down, but Cuz smartly doesn't exit that bush with his flag down because he could just straight up die.
Yeah, I mean, you talked about all the turrets in the top side being down and just complete darkness essentially on the top side of the map here for Kingzone. He doesn't own his jungle anymore. You're not going to go past those brushes as, well, when in doubt, let's try to 4-man the Lissandra. Looks like it should be able to work out here as Toby is going to flash away. Big one comes in, Chaos Storm, but that's going to be denied. Okay. Even going to go for the ult as he's trying to buy as much time as possible while his team pushes in.
And you know what? That is actually very effective at doing one thing. It makes you feel better. And honestly, with this game probably already over for Kingzone, I don't mind just a confidence play of, let's just kill that one guy. They were never going to get a map lead. that was definitely the sins of the top side of the map, just meaning that the bot lane was irrelevant because it doesn't matter, even though they're both ahead in gold. So that's just one of those plays you make where you're like, all right, I feel less bad about how hard we were blasted in the first 17 minutes, and maybe that confidence will help them because they're going to need a full reset in game number 2. This is just, let's ignore the whole map. All the inner turrets are down. All the easy objectives and medium objectives are down. Now we can feel good about expending a million flashes to kill Chovy.
And Toby does use everything, but that was 3 flashes out of the side of Kingzone. So it's 3 flashes and 2 ults. I mean, you don't really count Corky's ult. I suppose if you do, that's 3 ults. For the 1 ult and 1 flash out of Chovy, so definitely worth it in that sense.
3,000 gold lead, but it feels like a gulf. Gulf in class, a gulf in gold, a gulf between the two teams that was mostly felt around Sword, Tarzan, and Chovy. I'm actually really heartened to see Sword back on the Jace and performing on it. Had to watch him get crushed at the counter matchup Riven. That was a really sad game that I'm sure would have hurt his confidence for more than just a single series because they gave him overall counter pick on red side and got just slammed. Now this is Rascal, who's been good, remember. He's played a lot of unique champions and was really good on a lot of matchups in the second round, Arbin. Now Rascal took the Orin, tried to take the punishment and failed on it, and his jungler certainly kind of hesitated his own demise, but finding a pick for Sword, like the Jason saying, we will first pick Jason, make it work, is something that in the best of 5 will for sure be relevant. There will be a Jace ban or a Jace first pick in the final of the LCK. It will be unbelievable to see anything but that.
I mean, it's definitely good preparation. All the stuff we were talking about for Griffin coming into this series. Obviously, Kingzone also will have to prepare up against this, up against similar level opponents, and maybe even better up on the top side. So,
like the item build here, the Rage Blade's been skipped over for an even earlier power spike. It's 9.6, so it's not the new Rage Blade, in case you're wondering at home. It's just Wit's End because there's actually no true physical damage dealers. At the end of the day, Cuz is a Cinderhulk bot, and then mostly magic damage onto the Corky. So Wit's End is another on-hit. It does work with Rage Blade, and that will come in at some point, and allows the aggressive tumbles to not just mean you tumble in and then Phosphorus Bomb Rocket accidentally does 500 damage to you in stealth. Wit's End here, and the Shred that also synergizes with Tarzan and Chovy means good news, more Lissandra and Elise damage.
You caught it before the Observers. Good news for you as well, as the Observer just hovered over it. So
time to give me a raise, guys.
You made the whole point, and then the Observer was like, oh yeah, by the way, he's got Wit's End and Hurtrix, obviously.
Hey, Papa, Skrilla.
Yeah.
Where's it at?
On the ball here.
Sadly, the members of Kingzone are also wondering where their Skrilla is at this game, because they just don't have enough gold to fight back. The item's completed, though. You look at them and you're like, oh, Triforce Rapid Fire Cannon, not too bad. Not too shabby on the CS. Top lane is kind of the random sampler of tank items, which is fine. It's Orin. And you do, again, have to remember there's somehow Griffin take their foot off the accelerator for 10 minutes, and it stays at 3,000 gold lead. You take Orin Horn blowing a couple of flashes and then finding any picks with a 3-item Corky. This game is even at IE. We'll wonder if Kingzone might be able to fight that.
It's definitely a dream scenario, but Griffin, a very intelligent team themselves. They know exactly what Kingzone are going to try to do to get back in this game. The lethality here on Zorn is even chunking the Ornn, but Toby gets himself into an awkward spot here. Ornn gonna come in, not gonna knock him up actually, and there it is. And now Toby, no aftershock, no ultimate, has the shield from the Karma, but that's it. And that's gonna be 2 kills that immediately go the way of Kingzone.
And this is Kingzone actually punishing Griffin, who come crashing down to earth for a bit. They totally mismanaged the comp. Your caster curse was so real on Griffin being fully aware of their strengths and their weaknesses. They played to maximize their weaknesses. What value do they get out of Elise, Karma, and Vayne? Then none. And now Kingzone say, it's time to run a Baron. Ooh. And what's going to happen here about this?
This game is getting spicier by the minute as, again, it is going to be 3-on-5, but you do have a lot of burst damage into Vayne, so Kingzone will take the risk here. They do have that field to zone them out, and it is going to go the way of Cuz. And Rascal is going to be the one sacrifice, so one kill for the Baron. Kingzone will absolutely take it.
And to Kingzone's credit, they make a clear call. Use everything to get to the Baron, use all the damage on the Baron, and kill it. That is what they do. They trust that Elise won't be able to take away the smite. It's pretty YOLO, but given where the game was at, you can kind of understand it. That confidence early. We watched the replay here. Chovy dives into the back line. You think, okay, that's a pretty early ultimate. He wants to get healthy. The Ornhorn does separate threats, and Lehens, Tarzan, and Viper kind of watch on as in horror as first Chovy, then Sword kind of contrive to get them the least value out of their bot side. And then, like we mentioned, watch Kingzone. They're not peeling. They're going straight on it. 1600 is when the smite fiesta begins. Early smite, but not actually picked up by Tarzan. And Cuz gets the smite, but he's been pretty good on all season.
Abandon me. I'm saying it over and over and over again. He's like, throw me in the trash. Throw me out, abandon me, leave me, leave me. That's a team player for you right there, Rascal. He's like, I'm going to go in the front, I'm going to tank, I'm going to zone him out. That's exactly what he did. Also able to land that Ornhorn onto the side of Griffin that were, again, kind of running at them, but props to Kingzone for making this game, after a disastrous early game, pretty interesting.
And at this point, you wonder if that's the scene that's in the movie, right? Is that the trailer scene that you see? If Kingzone actually come back and win this game, it'd be a pretty huge comeback victory against our #1 team in the LCK. Witness me, remember me, avenge me, all of those would have fit in that particular scenario. Kingzone pushed down the top side. They didn't go for the greedy Kog'Maw. They went for the Victor, who's going to start to hit the ground running now. He's pretty strong with this Lichbane build, doing some burst, as we know. And speaking of burst, we're getting towards that IE on pawn.
You take a look at Toby. I was going to mention in the last fight, you can go that ham if you have a stopwatch, if you have a Zhonya's. He didn't actually use it in the last fight, and now he used it here by accident. So he needs that Zhonya's. He skipped it to go for the Ludens and some extra damage, but I guess he picked up a stopwatch and just used it by accident. That's going to delay his Zhonya's even more, so kind of unfortunate for Toby, who might be feeling the pressure now.
And it's time for Orange to stop passing off power. The IE, when it's done, will probably be the first upgrade. So far hasn't upgraded. Level 13, so has his own upgrades involved. That just means 1,000 gold donations to his teammates and muddies the gold lead even further. Baron buff relevant for now. This is the last minion wave with the Baron buff. Are they just going to take out a bot lane, in a bot lane turret and back away Kingzone? They will basically make it an even gold game.
Looks like they're going to try for one extra. They still got 30 seconds on this one.
Sword has physical damage AoE AD wave clear, so because of that, they can actually hit these minions better than other comps would be able to. No Ornhorn just yet, and there is the first Ornn upgraded item. It is on to pawn.
There it is. So Ornhorn comes in. They're really pushing for this one. Only going to hit the Vayne, or rather the Karma, in the back line. Actually, it wasn't Vayne, but they do get the turret after all that play, so the zoning comes out, and yeah, that Trinity Force is even better.
It is. It's a lot of random stats, though. I actually prefer... I guess there was probably no one else to upgrade on the team, and they just went for the upgrade for the fight.
Yeah.
I'd actually prefer just 80 stacks with the IE. I know you can't choose the items, so perhaps you just go for it and take the Trinity Force, but he now has a bevy of stats, does the Corki, and that zone away with the Ornhorn is also pretty relevant, Valdez, because that's how you play against a comp like this. Ornn ults, and then Elise, Jace, and Vayne, even Karma, really can do nothing until they get their wits around them fully and see the Ornhorn disengaged, and by then, a turret is gone. Do that 3-4 more times. Lichbane autos go on to turrets, they push up, they have the Tahm Kench for disengage. This throw from Griffin, there's no other way to put it. The gold lead doesn't necessarily show how big a throw it was in this game. Is pretty real, and Kingzone have steadied the ship.
Really shows that under pressure and from behind, Kingzone are going to... It's kind of a funny sound effect that you guys can hear. I wanted to let you hear for just a moment there with the big package that Pawn does have.
How big would you say it is right now?
It's pretty massive. I mean, take a look at it. It's hanging. It's bigger than his own plane, so you know he's packing something in there.
It could be bigger. He could have an IE. He could have a little bit more items, so... I'm not sure I completely agree, but you are, of course, a big package expert when it comes to Corki play. Are you feeling like, if this is the third Corki win this week, are you jumping into solo queue and bringing back your Corki?
Certain matchups, I guess.
This is the one, right? Into Lissandra has been the one we've seen this week, and it's one where you can farm out in lane. Kind of reminds me of seasons past where you can get away with risky champions against Morgana mid, the last time that was meta, and that might actually be an analytical point we have, given that Morgana mid was played by Fly a couple of times this week.
Yeah.
But for this game, the next Baron is up. The game has changed so much since the last Baron was being competed for. They don't have Dual Smite available right now, but the cycling can continue on Rascal, and suddenly Griffin have to really consider their angle of approach, because otherwise the Ornhorn's just going to completely own the team of Griffin.
It's going to obliterate them if they go down the wrong corridor here, and you can see just how deep Kingzone are trying to get that vision and how carefully they are going to go for this one. It's not 5v3 anymore. It is Griffin that can use a couple of abilities to try to get some vision, but with the Mountain Drake and 5 people, they're going to begin this one. When does the turn come in? The answer is now, as they're going to knock up 2 people in that corridor, but the Cataclysm is actually on the right side. Doesn't get too much damage for a long time. Toby going to be going in, and Cuz has to be devoured, but Toby, oh man, that's a good stop one. It's going to go down, though, in the end. Sword now going to be forced to flash away. It's up to Viper in that front line with the first damage of the Elise to try to win the fight. They are at least going to stop Kingzone from doing the Baron.
But you see Viper's conundrum. They don't have Sword on the Scion and Urgot, we know. They don't have a front line for Viper to just tumble in aggressively, and every time he tries, he's afraid of just being blown up by someone like Deft Dopon. Both of them have insane burst, i.e. Corki and Lichbane Victor. We all know the feels there. Kingzone back on the Baron. They'll have Ornhorn in about 25 seconds.
All right, we're doing it again. No Ornhorn for now, as you did mention. Rascal's actually got TP right now. Damage is coming in. They're trying to zone away Tarzan on the left side. He's not going to be able to get close enough, and the Baron, again, is going to go the way of Kingzone. And here's the Corki in the front line. A couple of shots to the back of Lahenge. He's going to take him out. Toby going 1v4 on the other side. These fights are all over the place. Toby's going to go down, and the rest of them are being chased down like prey in the jungle. And Viper's all alone now. He's going to try to tumble to the safety, but is forced to flash away. And Kingzone might win this game.
They're definitely going to win it, I think, Valdez. It seems hard. It's going to take multiple fights, and it might just be right now.
They're pushing on in. They've got the Baron buff. They have 5 members against just the 2. It's the most fed, and it is the 2 damage dealers, but doesn't seem to matter as the Corki is heavily online. The Vayne here tumbling with that one, but he is not going to do much here. It's only Lahenge now, and Kingzone take the throw. They catch it, and they bring it to the Game 1 victory.
And man, did we get a game that was both sides of the season for Kingzone. At the start, it felt like we were just watching a replay of